Hi guys, welcome back. We're going to talk about simplifying radicals today. Okay. And again, this part is really important for geometry in Algebra 2. Okay. Now, this is not written on your notes, but you might want to have it written on your notes. You should have these memorized. Okay. It's not the most important thing ever, but it's going to make your life a lot simpler going forward in your math classes. So you should know that the square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. Most of, at least through this, you should probably already have memorized, okay? If not all of this. And that's really just remembering that 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, right? These can all be helpful for the squares, okay? Perfect squares is what we call them. Perfect cubes you probably don't have memorized yet, but the cube root of 1 is 1. The cube root of 8 is 2, and that's because 2 times 2 times 2 is that. The cube root of 27 is 3, cube root of 64 is 4, and the cube root of 125 is 5. Okay, so if you need to, you can pause the video, write these down, but you should probably have these ones memorized. Okay, so I'm going to remind you of some things. Again, this is not written in your notes. Remember, the square root of 4, we know it's 2, and we know that because 4 is 2 times 2. Okay, so notice to get the 2 out, we took 2 2's and it became 1. Same thing if we had the square root of 9. Well, that's, we know is 3. That's 3 times 3. We took 2 of them out to get 1. Okay, so again, remember there's an invisible 2 here when we're dealing with square roots. So when we have square roots, we need 2 buddies of the same number in order to get 1 out. Well, if we look at cube roots, okay, I'm going to write that in black. I just told you a second ago that the cube root of 8 is 2. And that's because if we do 2 times 2 times 2, well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. So I needed 3 2's to get 1 out of the radical, okay? And notice there's a 3 out here. So we needed 3 buddies to get 1 out, okay? What if we take the third root of 125? Well, 5 times 5 is 25. Write that in blue like I did the rest of them. Times another 5 is 125. So again, I needed 3 5's to get 1 out. So if we have a 4th root, you need 4 buddies to get 1 out. If you have a 5th root, you need 5 buddies, so on and so forth, okay? So what we're going to do is, I'm going to shrink this down so that way it's out of my way for later, okay? We're going to look at what goes into every number. So if you type the square root of 45 into your calculator right now, you're not going to get a pretty number. I don't want that really weird decimal. I want to simplify the radical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for buddies. So we're going to say, what 2 numbers multiply to be 45? And I'm going to be like, well, 5 and 9. Okay. 5 is prime. I'm going to circle it. Okay. Because I can't break it down any farther besides 1 and 5. Not helpful. Well, 9 is 3 and 3. And 3's are both prime. I see I have a set of buddies. I have 2 3's, and I know I need 2 buddies because there's an invisible 2 there. So I can pull one of those 3's out, and they both are gone now. Okay? And I'm left with a 5, so we have the square root of 5. So the square root of 45 simplifies to 3 square roots of 5. And if you want to test me, you can type in your calculator square root of 45 and look at the long decimal, and then type 3 times the square root of 5, and you'll get the same long decimal. Okay? This can make things a lot easier to simplify when you get later on in your math career, okay? All right, let's look at the next one here. Now, this is a 4th root, so I need 4 buddies, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and break down 64. Well, I know 64 is 8 times 8, okay? Well, I know 8 is 4 times 2, and 2 is prime. And then I can break down this 4 to be 2 times 2. Well, I also know 8 is 2 times 2 times 2 from the cube roots that I have to memorize, right? So I could do that right off the beginning if I wanted to and just be like, oh, these are all 3 2's, okay? Well, I need 4 of them, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4 to pull 1 out. So I can pull 1 2 out, okay? And that gets rid of those 4 2's. But then I have these 2 extra 2's left over. So those have to stay under the radical, okay? And I just multiply those back together again. So 2 times 2 is 4. So the 4th root of 64 simplifies down to 2 4 roots of 4. Okay? All right. We can do the same thing with variables. So there's an invisible 2 here, so I need 2 buddies. Well, 8 to the 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 A's, right? Well, here's a set of 2, here's a set of 2, here's a set of 2. So we're pulling out 3 A's. And that makes them all disappear from inside the radical. Well, b to the 8th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, I have a set of 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of 2. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's nothing left inside the radical because these are all taken care of. So this would be a to the 3rd, b to the 4th. Now notice 6 divided by 2 is 3, which we got a to the 3rd. And 8 divided by 2 is 4, so we got b to the 4th. So the shortcut is to just divide whatever number's on the outside into the inside, and you might have some leftover ones. Okay? Let's look at another one like this. Okay? So very similar, I'm going to deal with the numbers. Now I know 125 is 25 times 5. Okay? And 25 is 5 times 5. Okay, so I have 3 5s, so I can pull one of them out, and there's nothing left now. Okay? Again, if you knew the cube root of 125 is 5 right off the bat, use that. Well, I know that 3 goes into 3 one time, so I'm going to have 1x coming out. Okay? Again, I could have written x times x times x. I'm like, okay, there's 3 of them, pull one out. Y to the 8th. Well, 3 goes into y to the 8th 2 times, so I'm going to have y to the 2nd with 2 left over. And this will have my little 3 here. I also could have written out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, if I have 3 pairs, you can see, well, I have a set of 3 with 2 left over. But you can use long division to help you, okay, if you don't want to have to write out, a bajillion y's. Okay? So I took care of the number, then I took care of the x's, then I took care of the y's. Okay? All right, why don't you go ahead and try this one. So I know that 16 is 8 times 2. Well, I also know that 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. If you want to shorthand it, if you need to do that, it's 4 times 2 first and then break that down in the 2's, that's fine. Okay, so I have 4 sets of 2's. Okay, which is going to just bring the 2 outside. 4 goes into 6 one whole time with 2 left over. So I'm going to have x squared left over. And then y to the 8th, 4 goes into 8 2 times. So I'm just going to have, y to the 2 on the outside. Okay, there's no leftover y's on the inside. Okay, so we talked about if there's anything extra inside the radical, we multiply it. But let's go ahead and talk through one problem that has it on the outside. So let's say we have the number 108. Okay, and I want to find the square root of it. So I'm going to be like, well, I know that 9 times 12 goes into there, and 9 is 3 times 3, and 12 is 3 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. Again, we're circling the primes as we go. This is called prime factorization. Okay, and I'm looking for sets of 2. Well, I have 2 3's and I have 2 2's. So I'm going to pull 1 3 out and 1 2 out, and then there's 1 leftover 3 here. Okay, again, we're only looking at the ones we circled. We ignore the 4, 9, and 12 because we've already broken it down. I just multiply what's on the outside. So 3 times 2 is 6. So this would be 6 square roots of 3. Okay, so if you pull out more than one number, just multiply it all together. If more than one number stays in, multiply them together. I hope this video finds you well, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.